Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This is not my normal content. I guess it is book related because I will be talking about a lot of books today. But as you read from the title, I am going to be recommending you books based on your favorite Attack on Titan character. Tonight will be the finale of the entire series and I'm so excited. I really don't know how it's going to turn out. I haven't read the manga, so hopefully this video will age well. But this will all be everything that I've experienced from these characters up until the final episode. Unfortunately, I couldn't fit in all of the characters, but I do have a lot of them. So if you feel like you should mention any more characters, or if you don't agree with the books that I've mentioned, or you find another book that might fit better with like a character, then please let me know in the comments. Also, this kind of goes without saying, but there's probably going to be a lot of spoilers. So if you haven't watched Attack on Titan all the way through yet, then I highly recommend that you watch it before you watch this video. And without further ado, let's just get started with it. So the first character that I wanted to mention is Connie. Connie is one of the more minor characters in my opinion, but he's made it so far that I feel like he's worth mentioning. But I feel like he's been kind of highlighted in the last few episodes where he had to choose between keeping Falco alive and feeding Falco to his mother, and then also where he had to choose between killing his friends and going on with the mission that they set out to do. So the book I picked for Connie was A Wish in the Dark by Christina Soontornvat. This is a Thai fantasy that is based off Les Miserables, and I picked this book because I feel like Connie and the main character of this book are both victims of circumstance, and throughout this book there was this ongoing theme of choosing between what is lawful and what is good, which is exactly what I pointed out in Connie. He's basically choosing between saving his mom and saving Falco, saving his friends and killing Erwin, and there's all these things that Connie had to struggle with in order to like move on in the story. So yeah, basically I picked this book because it has a lot of the same themes that Connie has to struggle with. The next character on this list is Jean, and for Jean I picked The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And you may be wondering why I picked this book. Kind of doesn't give off the vibes of Jean, but I swear there is a good reason for this. I feel like Jean always chooses between going the easy route and going with his friends. Like we saw in the beginning of the series, he was trying to go into the military police, but then he ended up deciding to go with the scouts instead. Even though the scouts is way more dangerous, he wanted to stay with his friends. And again, we saw him in a recent episode siding with Flock. And siding with Flock and the Jaegerists would have been such an easy route because Erwin is a huge force with the rumbling and all of that stuff, so it would have been way easier to side with the Jaegerists, but he ended up siding with his friends instead again. So this is why I picked The Hobbit, because The Hobbit is basically about Bilbo Baggins, who is kind of like thrown into this whole adventure with the dwarves and all this stuff, and most of the time he's kind of like, I don't really want to be here. And really it's like the whole time that Bilbo is like, I really don't want to be here, I just want to go home, I want to eat, I want to sleep in my own bed, and I feel like that gives off huge Jean vibes. The next character on this list is Hanji. So it was actually really hard for me to pick a book for Hanji, but I decided to go with Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. I don't think I've read a book that completely fits Hanji's vibes, but I do feel like the main character of this book is kind of similar to Hanji, because given the circumstances of Hanji's position, I feel like she still manages to keep everything upbeat and kind of acts as like a mediator and everything. She's kind of like the voice of reason, and I kind of feel like she always knows what to do too. And that's the vibe that I get from Wendy in Lost in the Neverwoods, because despite everything that she's been through, she still manages to put smiles on kids' faces and tell them stories about Peter Pan. And she also has this sense of knowing exactly what to do to save the children in her hometown. The next character on this list is Erwin, and for Erwin I picked The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Erwin in Attack on Titan is the most integral to this story and to the war on the Titans, I guess, and he's exactly the reason they were able to get into the basement in Shiganshina, and everyone knows he's just a war hero, and that's why I picked The Song of Achilles. The second half of this book is set during the Trojan War. If you're not familiar with the story of Achilles in mythology, he is very integral to the Trojan War and for the Greeks winning and that and everything. And in this story, since Achilles is a demigod, he is sort of born to play this war hero, and it's like in his blood that he's like a leader. He's like a natural born leader and ends up, you know, winning the war for them. So yeah, I think this was like a really easy choice for me actually. I think Erwin and Achilles are very similar, and similar in the vibes too. The next character is Peak, and for Peak I picked Pachinko by Minjin Lee. Peak is one of the characters that I am less familiar with, but I actually really love her because of her ingenuity and her endurance. I mean, she stayed in her Titan form for so long that she even became comfortable walking on all fours.
おはようバカ。
ピーク、何やってんだよ。
こっちの方がしっくりくるんだ。びっくりさせちゃった？
And I picked Pachinko because I feel like the main character in this book is so hardworking and has to go through so many hardships that I feel like she has the same endurance that the Cart Titan has. She bears it like a champ and gets through her hard life in stride. And also this book is set in Imperial Japan, where they are kind of like oppressing the Koreans. So I feel like there's a parallel there where Peak is an Eldian. Even though she's a warrior, she's still an Eldian. So she's probably not treated as well as she should be treated. And the same thing for Koreans living in Imperial Japan. The next character on this list is Annie, and for Annie I picked The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Annie is another one of those characters who is very ingenious. She's very clever, but what I feel is different between Annie and Peak is that Annie is a lot more brutal. She's almost cold and calculated in the way that she fights, and so that's why I picked this book, because I feel like the main character of this book, Jude, is very similar to Annie, where she's very cold and calculated, but she does have a heart inside her somewhere. We know that in the past few episodes it's revealed to us that Annie truly does love her father and she wants to save her father, and that's why she wants to stop Eren. And in this book it's very similar, where Jude is very cold and calculated. She wants to do whatever she can to become a knight, and we find that even though this is a YA fantasy, there is a lot less romance in this book in most YA fantasies, which I actually really love. And also again, there's a little bit of discrimination, although in here it is fairies discriminating against humans instead of Marleyans discriminating against Eldians. The next character on this list is Sasha, and for Sasha I picked Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. Sasha is one of the most wholesome and lighthearted characters in Attack on Titan, if not the most wholesome and lighthearted in the whole series. And it's so sad that her life was taken so soon, and we all know that she loved food. She absolutely loved food, and what better pig than Arsenic and Adobo? I mean, do I have to elaborate? Like, this book already has food in the title of it, and it's a lighthearted mystery that involves food from all different types of cultures, which I feel like is a perfect book to remember Sasha by, and I feel like Sasha would love this book. The next character on this list is Reiner, and for Reiner I picked The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Throughout the entire series of Attack on Titan, I feel like Reiner kind of struggles through this identity crisis where he battles trying to fit in with the scouts and trying to go on with the mission that Marley sent him for. And if you haven't heard of The Vanishing Half, it's basically about a set of twins who are white passing, and after they run away from their small community, one of them tries to pass as a white person while the other one lives her life as a black person. So this book is mainly about racial identity, but I feel like in particular the twin that tries to pass as a white woman is very similar to the struggles that Reiner has to go through, because she goes through this internal battle of disguising herself as somebody that she's not. You can see it especially in the interactions that she has with a black neighbor that moves into her neighborhood. She really wants to befriend her neighbor, but she also feels like she's risking exposing herself by doing so. So I feel like that's very similar to what Reiner goes through with making friends in the Scouts and also being a Marleyan. So the next character on this list is Armin, and for Armin I actually picked Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Armin is arguably the most intelligent character in the entire Attack on Titan series. He knows everything, he thinks everything through, he solves everything. And so I picked this book for Armin because this book relies heavily on extensive knowledge on retro gaming, and also it involves a lot of solving puzzles. Even though there was so much information packed into this book, I mean there is so much information, it was still really fun to read. I highly suggest listening to the audiobook though, because I feel like it's way better than reading the book itself. And I feel like if Armin lived in the 80s, I feel like he would know a lot of this stuff. The next character on this list is Mikasa, and for Mikasa I picked The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This book is about a psychotherapist named Theo who kind of weasels his way into a job at a mental health facility because he has a fixation on one of their patients named Alicia. And Alicia is in this facility because she murdered her husband in an open shut case and hasn't spoken a word about it ever since. So in this book, Theo is basically trying to get to the bottom of her story. I chose this book for Mikasa because, first of all, I take her as the strong but silent type. And second of all, even though she's one of the strongest characters in Attack on Titan, I feel like she's still a victim to the whims of Erwin. And in particular, I'm thinking about the scene where he saved her as a child when she was taken away from those men. I feel like that scene in particular draws a lot of parallels to the silent patient. And I won't spoil it for you, but it's very similar in that sense. The next character in this list is Levi. Levi is my personal favorite character in Attack on Titan. I literally feel like Levi is the GOAT of this anime. And so I thought, what is a really good book where the main character absolutely goated? And so I had to pick The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. If you ever get the chance to read this book, trust me, it's so worth it because it's so satisfying and everything plays out so perfectly. It's basically a revenge story, and like I said, everything just turns out so well. Like, it ends up so satisfyingly well, and that's how I feel like every scene with Levi is. Last but not least, we have our main character, Eren Yeager. Eren's motivations throughout the whole entire Attack on Titan series has been for him to protect his friends. And by the end of the series, we all know that Eren does not give a single fuck about anyone else. He will do anything and everything to protect his friends and family. And so I picked Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I really love this book, and the monster himself often gets misrepresented as a beast who has no conscience or not even the ability to speak. But when you read this book, you realize that he just wants to be loved and he wants somebody to love. However, in order to secure that, he will threaten everybody, and he has no regard for anyone whatsoever. You almost feel sad for the monster in this book, but then you remember that he's killed people and ruined people's lives without a second thought. And I feel like that's reminiscent of Eren. So yeah, those are the books that I recommend based on your favorite Attack on Titan character. I'm so excited for the last episode to come out. It's been literal years. Like, we've been waiting for so long for this series to end, and who knows how it will end. I have no idea. And again, I didn't mention all of the characters in Attack on Titan, but if you do have any favorite characters that you wanted to mention, please do so in the comments. If you don't agree with the books that I recommended, please recommend something better. I would really love to have a conversation about this because this is probably my favorite anime of all time. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, comment anything else that you want to comment down below, and subscribe because I post new videos once a week. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!